Well, hello there, Retro PC Durham. Chris here. We've got another laptop here. This will be a firm retro or vintage computing experience here. This glorious Compaq Armada 1700. Take a look at this in great condition. Nice clear top. Flip up and show the front end here. We've got our floppy drive and optical drive. This is a standard CD-ROM drive. Our battery, which still holds a charge, kind of amazing. Great to have this kind of setup with a laptop from this era. This is like a 98, 99 era machine. The fact that it's got like the regular laptop stuff you want to have, right? It's got a keyboard and the touchpad and a screen and sound built in and all that. But because it's also got optical and floppy drive all built in together in one, you don't have to worry about carrying anything else around with you if you want to have this all-in-one retro computer. Bottom side here, we've got access to our hard drive and access to our modem card, I guess you could call it, that's installed in this little spot here. And then you can see on the side here, we've got our modem connector, a USB 1.1 port, infrared. We've got dual PCMCA or card bus slots. I believe one of these may be a 16-bit and the other's 32-bit. There is a difference between the two of them because when I plug this card in, this Netgear card bus adapter, it only, if I remember correctly, it only works when it's in the top slot. If I plug it into the bottom slot, it doesn't run properly. So I have to plug it into the top one to get it to work properly so we can have networking connectivity, which is important as well to be able to do things like download files off of our network. On this side, we've got our audio volume control as well as a headphone and microphone jack. And then at the rear of the machine, we've got some additional ports which are really helpful. So we've got a combo jack here for keyboard or mouse. And if you've got one of those splitters, should work for this as well for you to do both. But in most cases, the most you're going to need is if you want to use an external mouse instead of the touchpad, especially for gaming. That's really helpful. We've got a fan here. And that's important because we do have actually an integrated power supply in this system. So it just needs one of these Mickey Mouse cables, one of these guys here, to be able to plug in for power. You don't have to have a power adapter to go with it. Also helpful that the power supply that's in here still works properly, no bad caps or anything, which would be pretty terrible. We've got a VGA port for external monitor if needed, and then we've got serial and parallel ports as well. And oh, you know what, I misspoke here. This is not the ERTA port here. This is the ERTA port at the back of the system. That certainly would make more sense. And then the last thing we have here is this dock connector here. So there was a port replicator / docking station for the Armada 1500 and 1700 series. And this is compatible with both of those. So if you ever happen to come across one of those, that would plug into here as well to do some port replication. Flipping up the lid is just as simple as there's switches on either side of the piece here. You just flip up the lid and we get our not fully expandable or extendable screen here, but it is available here. 13.3 inch screen, 1024 by 768, and that is Active Matrix. And then we've got our nice keyboard. It's scissor switch keyboard. It's a little bit spongy, but it's okay to type on. And then our touchpad with two big mouse buttons. And then we've got these power buttons here, of which one, I believe this is the power button, and this is like a suspend button. And then there's these 4 star function keys, which I don't know what they do, and I don't have the original image of this machine installed on the drive to know what these actually work. But if we hit the power switch here, we will see the system start to boot up. You can see just with the light. I'll switch the light off and you can see now as it'll start coming online. So you can see that boot up screen. It is loading up. We'll just let Windows finish loading and then I'll get everything plugged in and up and running. Just because I know the battery does last for a while, but I don't want to chance having it run out when we're in the middle of trying to do something here. But there you go. Windows loading up pretty good. I'm going to readjust the camera angles now. And yeah. Let's take a look around our system here and show off our specs. So if I go down to properties here, you can take a quick look and see here. We've got Windows 98 SE loaded, but I did upgrade Windows 98 using a tool I found online called the Auto Patcher for Windows 98 SE. So you can go online and find that as well. It's perfect. It works so well to just automatically run a whole bunch of updates on Windows. And the best part is it does like all the restarting for you, so you don't have to do any manual updating. Easy peasy. We've got a Pentium 2 processor in here. It's a 266 megahertz Pentium 2, and then we've got 160 megabytes of RAM. So there's the onboard 32 megabyte that's soldered, and then 128 megabyte SODIMM SD RAM that's installed in here as well, which I believe is the maximum memory that this system will actually handle. But that's great. Like, that's more than enough performance for the system. As far as other devices go on this, we've got the Chips and Technologies 65555 PCI graphics adapter. I believe it's 2 megabytes worth of memory that's on this system, which is great for almost every Windows 98 and DOS game out there. 3D software rendering, you're going to be a little hindered with. It's not great, but it can get by and do a little bit of, it can do some stuff. As I mentioned, we've got that network card installed. So we've got this Netgear FA511 card bus card installed in here. And there is a modem as well, which I can't remember if I've got. It's either disabled or it's this unknown device here that I didn't bother installing drivers for. And then we have a ES1869 audio drive. So it's ESS audio drive that's running sound for this as well, which has native DOS sound support, which is perfect for us to do some gaming. So first off, I'll show off, if you wanted to do some networking, obviously you've got that network card in there. If you for some reason wanted to do some browsing, I have Opera 10 installed on this machine, so it is possible to browse the internet once we get this up and running here. So if we went to something like msn.ca, it'll load up here pretty quickly. We can take a look at a couple a couple bookmarks that you can go to if you want to go to FrogFind, which is a kind of alternate browser that does a little bit of rejigging of the web page stuff to make it show up on older machines. That's a cool project there by Action Retro and Mac 84. And then you can also try out something like the OldNet, which does a very similar thing, right? You can go and browse and search for anything, and it'll try and like render it back in the way that it was back in a previous year, which is certainly helpful if you want to say, something like Wikipedia doesn't really work. But if we said, let's go to wikipedia.org, and we want to search in 1999, and it'll bring up the Wikipedia page, kind of in an old rendering. Obviously, since Wikipedia started after the year 2000, it wouldn't be rendering it correctly, but you can find some of that old information. So there's lots of these types of sites. If you are in the know on what the best sites are, you probably already know them. Feel free to drop them in the comments below and share them around. I'm not super familiar with the web browsing, the modern web browsing on these older machines. I know it's possible, but I don't know the actual sites that you would go to once you get to the point that I've gotten this machine to. Anyways, while we're here in Windows, we can take a look at some performance here. I'm going to start Fraps. But I know it's not going to work on some of these games properly to show. So if we take a look at something easy like NFS 2, so this is around the time period of this machine. There's two versions of Need for Speed 2. Obviously, there's Need for Speed 2 and Need for Speed 2 Special Edition. The SE Edition works with 3D effects graphics, which this system doesn't have. But if we just take a look at our racing capability, you're going to see our FPS counter here at about 10 FPS on the main screen here. And that's probably realistic for the menu. I'm thinking that the actual gameplay here is going to be showing us better but for some reason it doesn't render, like it's not rendering the FPS properly. But the game plays perfectly. No issues here in terms of, you know, my ability to play the game is terrible, but the game itself runs just fine. This is the demo version, so I only have the Ford here. I can't cheese and drive the McLaren F1 to be able to pass everybody super fast with the max top speed, but I can make one of them crash. So as you can see, it runs really well here, and no issues there to be able to have that enjoyable experience. I will go and load up Half-Life, and we'll see what a 3D experience is going to be like. Now, again, we have to software render because of reasons with the graphics card. But if I go and just load into the game here, this is just at the beginning here, early part of the game. The FPS counter should work properly here. But you can see here, we are at, where are we here? Configuration and video modes. So we're running, this is 400 by 300 doing software. So it's pretty low resolution, right? And this is what we're getting, you know, 20, maybe, you know, 26 frames per second, which is not great, right? And once you start getting into the more active parts of the game, combat or a lot of the you know, energy weapons and any of that type of stuff going on, you're definitely going to have some problems with getting this to work. But it does work, so I mean that's a, you know, a tell that it is working, just not great. You know, some stuff isn't rendering here properly. That could just be because of there it is. Now the computer arm's in there now. It wasn't there before. So it works okay. It's not a great experience, obviously. To play a game like this properly, I'd want to have a better 3D video card so I could actually, you know, do stuff in it properly. But it works. Let's go and do a restart into MS-DOS mode. And I'll show off, you know, just a little quickly here that you can see. Obviously, you want to have a good experience with this. A Pentium 2 processor is going to run the games perfectly. You have more than enough memory for it. The only thing would be whether or not your sound and graphics work well. And so it does. You've got native, as I mentioned, the sound card's got native DOS support. So you don't really have any issues with any of that type of stuff. If I just go into, actually, let's go to the DOS bench pack here from Phil's Computer Lab. And if I go and run this, and we'll do something like, we'll do the Quake time demo at 640 by 480. I think is a pretty good example of showing off how well the system can perform. And the sound is not enabled on this, I don't believe, just because that's the way that the benchmark, I think, sets itself up, that it doesn't enable it. But we'll just let it run through the demo here and be able to show off what the frame time and frames per second are. It's almost done here, obviously. We got to run across the bridge and then fall down, pick up the key, and it should be finished. But as far as the quality is concerned, you know, we see there's a little bit of a border around the screen here. Let me just lighten that up here. There's a little bit of a border around the screen here, but we got 23.8 frames per second, which I think is okay. It's not great, obviously, but it's okay. And now if I check maybe, let's see, like the Doom Max Details demo. Well, that's why I think I had the volume muted or something. Yeah, but you can see here the quality is pretty good. It's burning through this pretty quick. We should be getting our results now. I gotta run around the corner and die, and there you go. So 2134 game ticks and 1061 real ticks. So whatever that means for you is whatever it means for you. But it's pretty good, I think, in terms of performance. Now if I go to, say, CD Games, and if we go and check out Doom 2, I guess, and we'll get that up and running. There we go. I got the sound turned up now. So we can see here the performance quality. No problem at all in terms of capability. Runs great, no at all. Very, very happy in terms of how well the system runs here. And then when we want to go back to Windows, we will just get a reboot here. So that will complete my look at this awesome Compaq Armada 1700 laptop. A great full-featured system, very durable, runs great, and for capturing that Windows 9X and DOS 90s era computing environment, having a laptop like this that has all of the needed hardware installed in it, I think is a great alternative to having a full standalone desktop environment. You can get this out whenever you have that urge to play an old game, and then when you're done, you can pack it all away and it sits on a shelf instead of needing to go in a bunch of boxes or have its own closet or something set up for it. So really great, really enjoyed playing with this machine. Looking forward to helping finding a permanent home for it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. As always, I hope you're also staying safe and healthy, and we'll catch you in the next one.